Hi, this is Broc, where we cook and burn, and I just stole this Nintendo Switch. You see, this bad boy right here has almost every Zelda game, so I came up with a plan, guys. I'm gonna play through all the Zelda games, most for the first time, starting with Zelda 1. So welcome to the Legend of the Backlog. The Legend of Zelda is a game where you swing, you block, and sometimes you kablooey. Also, a little bit of arson, but mostly those three things. And it's kind of hard. I mean, it's a little hard. It's a little hard, you know? At least for today's standards, but also, guys, bear with me because I have literally spent 15 hours on a 5-hour campaign. So, take that with a grain of salt. You see, the Zelda gameplay revolves around one major theme. Exploration, baby. Not dealing enough damage? Find a better sword. Taking too much damage? Find better drip. Broke? Let's go gambling! The more you explore, the more you will be rewarded for the most part. How will you know to blow up this random wall? I don't know, but you could. Now that's Zelda 1's biggest strength and weakness. The game was designed around exploration. Miyamoto, the producer of the game, actually enjoyed exploring the wilderness around his house. Unfortunately for us, he kinda dragged it. When you're exploring the woods in real life, of course there aren't any hints. You'll find the wildest of things in the oddest of places, and you often get lost and find things by complete accident. The Legend of Zelda mimics this well, maybe a little bit too well. You see, this game came out in 1986. There weren't many open world games of its kind. I mean, it wasn't the first open world game. There was Atari's Adventure. That was a game. You see, Zelda wasn't like the other girls. For one, it was actually a good game. And second, the world was a bit more intricate. There is a lot of hidden secrets like the underground caves or the hidden items that reward players for exploration, which is neat. Another neat thing about the world of Hyrule is the ability to wander at your own pace. Want to be lost for fucking 6 hours? Go ahead. You have that choice. The world is your oyster. You can be rewarded with cool items or getting jumped. Since you're just being dropped in this world, you really gain a sense of adventure, like getting lost for 3 hours and realizing you forgot to make a left and completely missed Dungeon 2. That was fun. Hyrule's actually really vast in this game. Considering we're running on the NES games, the game has tons of different landscapes. I'm talking forests, lakes, mountains, which are made up the same sprites, just different colors, but use your imagination, guys. The NES here. Yet, I will give it this. The sections do feel pretty distinct from each other. There's even a huge-ass graveyard, which makes it seem like everyone in Hyrule died, which makes sense since I can count on my finger how many people don't want to kill Link in this game. Although, the map is pretty small by today's standards, but it really did feel huge. I don't have the map memorized. I usually memorize maps, like Link to the Past, memorize. This, I don't know where the fuck I'm going, constantly. I feel lost. How am I lost? It's a smaller map. I spend a ridiculous amount of time being lost if I haven't made this obvious yet. A lack of a detailed overworld map didn't really help, or any real instructions from the game didn't really come from anywhere. Again, I understand why they went with this approach. For one, hardware limitation. 2, they wanted to capture the feeling of being lost in the woods. And 3, they gave you a freaking instruction manual, dude. Read the instruction manual. If this is your first time playing the game, you're probably gonna end up wandering aimlessly. I'm talking running in circles, passing the same screens, ending up again and again in the same place, getting jumped. You just never stop getting jumped. A good example of this would be the Lost Woods. You see, this place is just a maze where the wrong inputs can lead you in an endless loop of the same screens over and over and over. There's a specific path that you need to follow to get through this, but once again, the game doesn't really tell you. Zelda 1 will not hold your hand. Matter of fact, I don't even think Zelda 1 is in the room with you. This is your journey alone, but it's dangerous to go alone, so take this. Where am I going? Now let's talk about when the game actually does try to give you a hint. It tells you in some of the weird cryptic messages, like, look at this eastmost peninsula is the secret. What the hell does that mean? Do you want me to kill Ganon or not?
Link, Patra has the map.
Who the fuck is Patra? I'll tell you who Patra is. Patra's actually an enemy, and there's no way to know what Patra is unless you read the guide or read the manual. That is the Zelda 1 experience in a nutshell. So you have two options. use a guide, or thug it out. Now, I did a little bit of both. I would thug it out, get lost for like an hour and a half, whip out the guide when needed. This is good because I can barely read and a lot looking at pictures. Although, there is a third option. Like I mentioned, you can use the manual. The manual gives you a breakdown of the general game mechanics and hints at what can be discovered without spoiling you, which is great. Now, I tried using the manual for a while, but once I got lost enough and I had to look something up, it was too late. It was like cocaine to a bear. Don't be like me. Don't try to beat this game in the afternoon. This game is meant to be sipped on. Like, think about it. It's a game about exploration, and you choose not to explore. But hey, that's kind of the neat thing about the original Zelda. The combat is fun. Simple, yet hard and engaging. Some enemies need specific weapons, and some enemies need you to get good, like the Dark Nuts, which is a great name because they constantly were busting mine. Listen, these motherfuckers gotta be programmed with ChatGPT because they read my every move. The Switch Rewind feature was calling me like the Green Goblin Mask. Do not even get me started on the whiz robes. Regardless, if you choose to use a guide for the whole game, you can still have fun beating bosses and going through dungeons. Although, you don't have to use a guide to beat the game. For the most part, with patience, you can put things together yourself. Getting heart containers is where it gets a bit more tricky without a guide or a manual, although there is a way to circumvent both the manual and a guide while having to figure out everything by yourself. Now listen, what I'm about to say is gonna be a little bit out of pocket. But just hear me out. The original Zelda is kind of like Five Nights at Freddy's. Wait, what I mean is that it's a collaborative effort. Just hear me out. When this game came out, there was not an online guide. It was just friends and exploration. This was a game you could not complete in a week. It took months with your friends finding secrets and trading information. It's a secret to everyone. It's the embodiment of this. Much like FNAF fans came together to solve a game's lore, for Zelda fans, it was much the same. Let me give you an example. When I was exploring Hyrule, I found a lady behind a waterfall. Although there is an NPC that gives you a hint about this person, I actually ended up finding it by accident. You see, I was fighting for my life and ended up getting pushed into the entrance. Secrets are often found by accident or clever thinking. If you decide to grab a group of friends and slowly make your way through Hyrule, together you could write down what you guys have discovered. Not only could you cover more land, but you can get the feeling of what it felt like to trace secrets in the middle of recess again. No manual, no guide, just pure exploration with your friends. Not me though. I'm using the guide. And just like that, boom! We're in Ganon's castle. Listen guys, I don't know about y'all, but it smells like a bitch in here. And it's me. Man, this dungeon is freaking huge. Now, up to this point, I've done all the dungeons guide-free. But I got humbled. They were already writing my name on a tombstone at the Hyrule graveyard. It was fucking crazy. Listen, this dungeon had you blow up every wall, fight every enemy. I'm going in circles. I was 2 hours into the dungeon before I realized, oh, I'm lost. I'm lost. This was truly a culmination of all the things we faced so far, except one last fuck you from the game. See, I would only bomb walls with adjacent rooms. If a black square was on the map, that would mean there is no room. For 95% of the game, that was true. But oh boy, not for this dungeon. You specifically have to bomb a room that is a black square on the map to progress. How would someone know this without a guide or just become desperate and start bombing every single room? I don't know. You can't change the rules last minute. That was my biggest grievance with this dungeon. That and all the Dark Nuts. Regardless, the final boss wasn't too hard. Took a few attempts on some potions, but once you figure out the pattern and shoot him with the silver arrows, it's hilariously easy. He also explodes into like 1,000 pieces with guts everywhere, which is freaking sick. Then you save Princess Zelda and credits roll. Fun fact, this was the first game I ever 100%ed. This is a lie because I missed the one and never did the second quest. But regardless, this was the first time I beat Zelda 1. It was actually pretty fun and hard, but mostly fun. I can't believe this game was made by 6 people. The foundation this game set for future games, not just Zelda, is incredible. For me, the funnest parts were the temples. It felt like everything I needed to proceed was in there, and the enemies changed a lot per temple. They felt so unique. They felt more straightforward and condensed than the outside. I got overwhelmed with the outside world. For some people, a large explorable map strikes them with passion and an urge to discover. For me, it can be a turnoff. When I'm given too many options, I just shut down. I put the whole game down. I need a direction. My direction was finding dungeons. Rather than looking for upgrades or secrets, I was just going through the dungeons, you know? So when I needed those secrets, I just used a guide. Whether or not that hindered my experience, I'm not too sure. But again, there's always second quests, right? I do think this game does hold up well enough to play in 2024. If you don't mind a little bullshit here and there, it's a blast. Hey, if you don't want to map out the game, use a guide. You want to beat it quickly? Use a guide. If you want the full Zelda experience, use the manual. Or play with friends, unchart Hyrule together, and bring an English major too. They might help you decipher these hints. I think no matter what, you'll have a good time with Zelda 1. But I think I got what I wanted from the original Zelda. I got a taste for what makes Zelda a Zelda. And I'm sure the next game will use this foundation it's set and build the series forward. Right? Right? Uh-oh.